How is it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have got a good one. I'm gonna be installing something that has been sitting in my basement for way too long, at least a couple of months. I've been wanting to install it ever since I ordered it, but I've been trying to go step by step with this build and not throw too many parts on it at once. But today is the day we're finally gonna be installing some aero. I've got the Verus Engineering UCW wing here, and it looks spectacular already. I cannot wait to see how it looks on the car. If you guys aren't familiar with Verus Engineering, they make a ton of high quality, very well engineered parts for a variety of different cars, and they specialize in aerodynamics, which is why I went with their wing over some of the other options. If you guys saw my aerodynamics video, I had an APR GT, or I still have it, but I had an APR GT 250 wing that I was originally gonna install on the car, but I decided to go this route instead. So if you guys are interested in checking out what they have to offer, I'll drop their link down below. But with that being said, let's get this thing installed on the car. To start off, we're gonna take a look underneath the trunk here. If you happen to have an OEM spoiler, you should also have a rubber stop in this exact location. What you're gonna need to do is pull that rubber stop off, and you're gonna need to drill out that hole to 3/8 of an inch. Now, I do not have an OEM spoiler, so there's nothing here, so we're gonna need to drill our own hole. So I'm gonna center punch the center of this circle here, and then we can start drilling. We're gonna start off with a 1/8 inch drill bit first to get a pilot hole. You wanna be really careful not to drill through the top of the trunk, so be very careful and just take it slow. Once that hole is drilled out, we can insert the rivet nut with the installer tool that's included. And you want to press it all the way in, make sure it's flat. And then we're going to use a 9/16 wrench to hold this nut portion. And we're going to use a 10mm socket and ratchet to install the rivet nut. Go, that should be good now. Now we can insert the included bolt with a nut already threaded on, and this is basically going to act as a stop so that the trunk, well, once the wing produces a good amount of downforce, the trunk rests on the end of this nut and doesn't get pressed down, and there isn't a ton of movement. Not sure how well you're gonna be able to see this, but basically you want that bolt to be resting on this little platform right here. So you want to kind of look while you're closing the trunk to make sure it's at the right length where it rests right on here when the trunk is closed, so there's no extra room for movement. With the trunk support installed, we can move on to drilling the holes for the mounting brackets. I've cut out the included template for the driver's side here, so I just need to tape this in place. Then we're gonna mark the holes, and then we can get to drilling. Now, before we actually mark any of the holes to drill, you want to take the correct bracket and line it up with the holes on the paper first to make sure that it's correctly aligned before you actually do any drilling. That way you won't screw up your trunk. So it looks like everything is aligned pretty good. I'm gonna get that center punch, and we're gonna mark those holes. It's that measure twice, cut once mentality, right? I really don't want to have to buy a new trunk. I'm going to take the template off. And we're gonna do the same thing as before. We're gonna use a 1/8 drill bit first, and then I'll use a step bit to get it to 3/8, and then we can install the rivet nuts. Oh, here we go. We've got all 3 of the holes drilled into the trunk. These 2 were no issue whatsoever. This one, however, poses a little bit of a problem because when you just drill the hole and try to insert the rivet nut into there, it hits the metal on the back. So I actually had to drill a little hole on the back side here so that when I insert the rivet nut, it doesn't hit that metal, and it's just enough so that we can get that installed. Now we can go ahead and install all 3 of the rivet nuts into the holes we just drilled very carefully. Okay, that should be good. So when you're installing this, when you first start out, it's going to be a little bit hard because you have to kind of compress that metal of the rivet nut, and then it gets a little bit easier. And then when it's done, you'll feel it get tight again. And that's when you know you'll need to back the tool off and that it is properly installed. Don't just keep turning it as hard as you can because you're gonna strip the threads out. I've done that before. Then if it's really bad, you're gonna have to drill out the rivet nut and reinstall a new one. I've got all 3 of the rivet nuts installed. We've made it through the hardest part. Hopefully these holes are in the right location. We're gonna take the included 3M here, these little cutouts, and place them over the top. This is gonna help with some weather sealing once we install the bracket. Easy enough, just line them up with the holes. All right, now we can take our bracket. We're gonna thread in one of the bolts with a washer. Don't wanna press down just yet, because I wanna get all of the bolts in first. Okay, that's 2 of the bolts, so 2 out of 3, we're doing good. Please fit. Okay, I think we did a decent job of lining these holes up. So I'm going to grab an Allen key and we're gonna tighten these down. With that bracket installed, we can bolt on the upright. I've got both sides installed, so now we can bring the airfoil over and get that bolted up. All right, so these are supposed to go on the inside of the uprights. Try very, very hard not to drop this. There's 1. Come on, get in the hole. There's 2. I'm gonna get washer and nut on here. Okay, so this is adjustable, so there's a ton of holes on this mount here to choose from. I'm gonna go with the the least aggressive angle of attack, which I believe is that hole, but let me double check just to make sure. That hole should be about 5 degrees. It's gonna vary from car to car, obviously, but we're gonna start off right there, and we'll see how the car feels, and then we can adjust depending on whether or not I think it needs more or less downforce. This is my first time driving a car or having a car with aero on it, so it is gonna be a huge learning curve, but we're gonna learn together. We've got everything but the end plates installed, and this thing is absolutely massive, and I freaking love it. A little bit obnoxious, but it's very much functional, so fuck it. Let's get the end plates on, and then we'll see how it looks all put together. Now, originally this wing comes with aluminum end plates, but I thought since we are doing it up, we might as well upgrade to some carbon fiber ones. I'm not gonna tighten these just yet because I need to make sure they are level, so I'm gonna leave them a little bit loose. Wow, I honestly stopped filming for a good 10-15 minutes just to stare at this thing once I was done because it looks unreal. It's the perfect size. It's not too short, not too tall, not any wider than it needs to be, and I know it's gonna be very functional coming from Verus Engineering. The craftsmanship on this, everything down to the paper templates fit absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfectly. I could not be any happier with this product. Huge shout out to Verus Engineering for hooking me up with this amazing product of theirs. If you guys are interested in picking one up for yourself or checking out anything else that they have available, again, the link is down below. Let me know what you guys think. I'm super excited to take this thing out on the track. The next event is gonna be Gingerman in a few weeks. Before then, I'm also going to be installing something on the front end, so be on the lookout for that video. But until then, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.